guys, welcome back to the Willem's World YouTube channel. Today we are back once again with another tier list. I thought with Black Ops 6 coming out in the next couple of weeks, why not do something Black Ops related. I've obviously streamed Zombies a fair few times on the channel, and I'm going to be streaming a lot of Black Ops 6 multiplayer and Zombies. It's something I play a lot of, sink a lot of hours into it, and I thought we might as well just rank all of the perks. And the way I've decided to do it, obviously with it being a Black Ops game coming out, is these are all of the Black Ops perks, but they start obviously at World at War. So they've got the ones that introduce into World at War, and then Black Ops 1, 2, 3, 4, and Cold War. Not that there's a ton that are introducing like Cold War and stuff, but obviously the way I've done this is kind of like in two halves. You've got like the ones that were introduced into the mainline games, that they're all part of the similar sort of perk system, and the second half is all of the Black Ops 4 ones, which completely sort of redid the perk systems. I've not duplicated perks. I've not so for example, there's Stamina Up in Black Ops 4, but there's obviously Stamina Up, so I'm going to talk about that as one perk, because realistically there's not a lot different in them. There's obviously the modifier selection, there's the modifier section, and obviously with the things like the introductions of the benefits they added to Cold War and things like that, I'll take that all into account with it being one perk rather than looking at it as like as separate perks. And I know that might not be a particularly popular method, because I know a lot of people slag off Black Ops 4 and say it kind of ruined the perk system and things like that. But realistically, I think this is probably the most sensible, the way I've made most sense of doing this, because obviously Jug has been in World at War, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, skip Black Ops 4, and then Cold War, so we'd have 5 Jugs. So I'll go from left to right and name all the perks. And so we're obviously doing S to D, but we've got Juggernog, Double Tap, Quick Revive, and Speed Cola, which are the sort of core 4, if you will, the original 4. You've got Stamina Up, Deadshot, PhD, and Mule Kick actually were all introduced in Black Ops 1. Then you've got Double Tap 2.0, which is different to Double Tap the original, and I'll explain that when we get to that point. Tombstone, Who's Who, Electric Cherry, Vulture Raid were all introduced in Black Ops 2 as well as Double Tap 2.0. And then Black Ops 3 had Widow's Wine, and Black Ops Cold War, added Elemental Pop. Off the top of my head, I think I do think Widow's Wine is the only new one that was added in Black Ops 3. If I've missed any, if I've missed some, I've missed some, and you can flame me in the comments if that's something that needs to happen, if I've missed anything glaring, but as far as I'm aware, I've not. And then we've got Black Ops 4, which is Bandolier Bandit is this one, Blaze Phase, Bloodwolf Bite, Deadshot Dealer, Death Perception, which coincidentally I can put here actually, because it's a BO4 one, but it was reintroduced into Cold War as a separate perk, so I'll talk about the Cold War version as well when I talk about Death Perception. That might be why it's higher or lower or whatever it may be. Dying Wish, Electric Burst, Ethereal Razor, PhD Slider, Stone Cold Stronghold, Time Slip, Victorious Tortoise, Winter's Whale, Zomshell. And the reason why Zomshell's like this is because I literally couldn't find another image that would work, so I had to get this like old school perk logo type vibe for Zomshell. And then Secret Source, because realistically I don't know why I've added it. I just thought fuck it, it's there. Now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how am I going to do it? Do I just go left to right? Do I start with Black Ops 4 and then add the original, the older ones, and sort of go that way? Or do I just go, these are the ones that are dog shit, and work my way up, because I can immediately put Tombstone and Who's Who, and I should probably realistically put a tier that's below D, because D is too kind to Who's Who and Tombstone. But if we talk about this in sort of the fact of, if you look at the order I put them in as from bottom to top is in the ranking in order from worst to best. That would be the best way to sort of look at this, is that fucking shit, the pair of them. Absolute wank, to be completely honest with you. So that's going there. Next, in the worst sort of bottom tiers, I'm not going to put it in D, because those two deserve to be in there on their own. But Bandolier Bandit from Black Ops 4, purely because it doesn't really do a lot. So the sort of initial upgrade is that you get increased ammo stock, and then obviously on Black Ops 4, if you use the 4th perk slot, so for Chaos it would be Odin, and I think it might be Brew for Ether, you get a modifier, and the modifier for it is that you refill ammo in your stowed weapon, and your reload speed is quicker. But obviously when you get 4 perks anyway on Black Ops 4, you basically get speed cola anyway, so it's not really that necessary. And then I'm going to add Blaze Phase next. For me, Blaze Phase is again not particularly great. You crouch and then you uncrouch and you sort of lurch forward, and you're on fire, and it knocks zombies back, kills some zombies. And then the modifier is that your dash distance is infinite, so basically you can go as far as you can until you hit a wall. And then when you stop, you release a final pulse. And obviously weapon reload speed is increased, so that's just part of the modifier for all of them, so I won't mention that again really, but that's why I think that's kind of not particularly useful in this sense. And next in C is Ethereal Razor, in my opinion. Ethereal Razor, essentially your offhand melee swipes affect multiple enemies in an arc. You get a small amount of health bonus, and you get bonus damage. And then the modifier is that it basically kills basic zombies. So once you get an overrun, once you get bigger crowds, it's a bit fucking useless. And that's I don't think it's all that great. Next, we are going to stick Blood Wolf Bite in C. So this, if you quickly inflict a lot of damage, it spawns a wolf companion, which is fine. It's not one that I would choose in my 4 perks ever, really. The modifier, enemies that are killed by the wolf have a chance to drop a small amount of ammo points or power, so kind of how Vulture Raid works. Again, it's not one I choose in my 4. If I got it on a Perkaholic or a Perk Up, that's absolutely fine. I wouldn't be upset by that, really. But again, yeah, it's just not one that I would really consider using, to be completely honest. And then I think next, I'm going to put Time Slip. So Time Slip is equipment cooldown rate is increased. Mystery Box and Pack-a-Punch, they appear faster. And then the modifier is that special weapon charge rate and elixir cooldown rates are slightly increased, which I think is probably the best part of it realistically, is the special weapon charges. However, how often are you going to actually put it in your modifier slot? You're not, realistically, because there's not a million obviously, but there are at least 4 choices better, even in the modifier slot. There's 4 choices I would say are better. And the next 2 I'm going to go with, they're going to be, I think they're probably going to round out C, in my opinion. And it's going to be Deadshot Dealer and then Stone Cold Stronghold, and I'll just discuss them both before I move on. But essentially, Deadshot Dealer is essentially Deadshot Daiquiri. When you aim down the sight, it snaps to the enemy's head. It reduces hipfire spread and recoil when firing, and the modifiers, you gain a damage boost when on a headshot streak. Only applies to primary and secondary weapons, so it does not apply to any wonder weapons. And Stone Cold Stronghold is when you're standing your ground, it creates a defensive circle which boosts damage and armor over time. While you're inside it, and enemies in the modifier is enemies killed inside the defensive circle also boost your damage and armor, which I think is good if you're doing a camping strat. If you're not doing a camping strat, it's fucking useless. So it depends on what map you're playing, what strat you're going with, and then obviously if you use a perk up or a perkaholic and you get it and you're training, it's essentially just useless. And Deadshot Dealer, I just don't ever find it to be as effective as Deadshot Daiquiri is, and I don't know what the reason is for that. I don't know if it's a me issue or what, but that would be the issue I have with that. So now we go into B. So all of these are, well, I say we go into B. I'm talking specifically about the Black Ops 4 perks at this point in time. I might discuss. I'll discuss all the other ones afterwards, after the fact. Some of them might go in C, might go in B and things like that. So this isn't necessarily in exact order. I'm just ordering the Black Ops 4 ones first, and then I'll order the Black Ops, or the rest of them after that. But the first one in B is Victorious Tortoise. Now this one, it makes your shield block damage from all directions when you're holding it, and when a shield breaks it will trigger an explosion. So if you're holding your shield, you can't get hit from behind. And the modifier is shield bash attacks can knock down heavy and mini boss enemies. So if you've got your shield out and you bash it, then obviously it knocks over, your Brutuses or your gladiators and so on. But the issue I've got with that is when you're bashing enemies, your shield goes down like fucking crazy. It really does go down an awful lot. So that's why I've put it sort of at the bottom, because I do think it's worth a B, because it can get you out of some sticky situations, but it doesn't deserve really to go any higher than that, I don't think. And next is Zombshell. So this is a similar, well, it works in a similar way to Blood Wolf Bind, so the fact that once you kill a certain amount of zombies or whatever, someone spawns that sort of damages enemies. So basic enemies have a chance to explode when killed, even behind a contamination field that slows enemies and increases the damage dealt to them. The cooldown increases with each explosion but resets at the start of every round. The modifier is that players with the modifier are ignored by zombies while standing in the contamination field. So the actual effect, the Zombshell effect, they brought it back in Cold War with Shatter Blast. It's very similar. The only difference is that with Zombshell, there's the lasting area where they can slow zombies down, and you can stand in it to become sort of invisible to zombies, which is pretty neat. Next, I think Electric Burst for me. Reloading causes an electric discharge that damages and stuns enemies nearby. The more empty the magazine, the stronger the damage. And the modifier is reloading stores an electric charge on the player's melee weapon. The next melee attack empowers the weapon to shock enemies for a limited time. The more empty the magazine, the longer the time. I don't think the modifier is all that great. I don't think there's ever really a need to use the modifier all that much. But I will actually put Electric Cherry next to Electric Burst purely because they do the exact same thing. That's how they both work in the same way. So I know obviously I said I was doing all Black Ops 4 ones, but realistically they're the exact same perk. The only reason I've put them in as separate obviously is the Black Ops 4 version has its modifier. So that being said, the next one will be actually, I think, Winter's Wail, and that'll be in B. I don't really know where I'm going to put Secret Source actually, to be completely honest. I'll discuss that in a sec. So Winter's Wail, you get hit by a melee attack while not at full health. It will cause a frost explosion that will freeze or slow nearby enemies. You can store 3 charges. Frost, and the modifier is Frost Explosion triggers a slowing field around the player for a limited time, and it stores an additional charge. It's very, 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 very similar to Widow's Wine, and I think I'm going to put Widow's Wine with it. I'm going to put it higher than Winter's Wail because Widow's Wine is it affects your knife as well, so maybe it's slightly better, especially at a lower round. If you get Perkaholic, your knife will be more improved. But it can be a lifesaver. It can certainly be a lifesaver. That's for sure. And what I'm going to do with Secret Source is I'm going to put it at the top of C actually. So Secret Source is essentially receive a random perk not assigned to another slot. So what me and friends do sometimes is when we don't really know what we want to do, we'll just fucking Secret Source it and just get 4 random perks. And it's a little bit. It can make runs a bit more interesting. It can make them a bit more fun if you just want to, pick. It adds a bit more sort of randomness to it. And then you just get the modifier for whatever one's in your 4th slot. That's just what you get the modifier for. So that I don't think it necessarily deserves to be any higher than that because it's not a great perk in itself, but it can add a bit more interesting factors to the gameplay. So next we're going PhD Slider. So you slide to build up a charge. Once fully charged, you slide into an enemy to trigger an explosion. So you have to slide multiple times to build up the charge. Once the icon's flashing, you can then your next slide will be an explosive one. You also gain resistance to self-inflicted explosive damage and partial resistance to enemy explosive damage, which is really fucking useful for certain enemies like the elemental enemies when you're playing on the chaos mode, and obviously it means you can use the best weapon in the game, which I've forgotten the name of, but it's a rocket launcher, and for some reason I can't think of the Hellion Salvo. It might be the Hellion Salvo in Black Ops 4, and that's literally the best weapon in the game, regardless of what map. So you can use that and not worry about killing yourself with it. And the last in A for the last one for the purely Black Ops 4 perks. I know I've got Death Perception still there, but I will discuss that alongside the Cold War sort of modifications. So you've got Dying Wish, which is instead of entering Last Stand, which is when you go down. So instead of going down, you go Berserk for 9 seconds. While you're Berserk, you're completely invulnerable, and melee damage is slightly increased. Afterwards, the player is left with 1 health. Cooldown increases with every use. The modifier is that players will receive full health when no longer Berserk. Reload speed is obviously increased. So obviously it's a lifesaver. It's proper crutch perk really. You can sort of just get out of incredibly sticky situations quite quick. There's obviously the downside of it is if you're completely surrounded, it can be a bit difficult to get out of that situation. However, if you've got your specialist, you can save yourself to get your specialist out, things like that. So I think it's an A tier perk, and I think that's pretty much where I would put every Black Ops 4 perk, not every strictly Black Ops 4 perk really. And obviously things like stamina are obviously included, but I've kept them because I just think the modifier is that you just run forever. So I don't think, whereas Electric Cherry has a bit of a different modifier, makes it different to the original Electric Cherry, so that's why I've added that as a separate one and kept stamina on its as 1. So we'll move on to sorry, my I'm just looking at Death Perception and getting really confused with myself. But anyway, these are all, so we've got obviously the original 4, and I think, okay, anyway, sorry, my brain is not functioning. Juggernog, oh fuck, not C, S, Juggernog, S tier, Speed Cola, S tier, Stamina, S tier, Double Tap 2.0. rate quicker, so you just rinse ammo like crazy. However, double tap 2.0 is for every bullet fired, it fires 2 bullets. So it doesn't increase your fire rate as much, but it does increase your damage a lot. And I think that just makes it far, far better. And I'm going to put double tap 1.0 at the very controversially. I'm putting double tap 1.0 in C. There's a reason why they changed it, isn't there? Realistically, you're basically spending 2,000 points on losing ammo quicker. That's it. It doesn't increase the damage necessarily. It just means you fucking shred ammo, and it's not particularly great. Deadshot Daiquiri, I'm going to put at the bottom of B. Like I said with Deadshot Dealer, I actually feel like Deadshot Daiquiri, generally speaking, does do a sort of, it's more effective. It feels like it snaps to the head more, and that's why I think it deserves to go higher than Deadshot. I'm going to put PhD Flopper in A along with PhD Slider. They're very similar in, well, obviously Black Ops 1, and it doesn't come back in Black Ops 2, I'm pretty sure, or 3. I think it's Black Ops 1 and then it comes back in Black Ops 4 as Slider. But obviously Flopper is when you could dolphin dive, and then they brought it back in Cold War. But they brought it back as Black Ops as PhD Slider, but with this perk emblem. So I'll put them next to each other. But it's crazy in Cold War. It's really good in Cold War. You don't take full damage, which is really good for Outbreak. If you fall from a very high height, you make an explosion when you land. You make an explosion when you slide further. You don't take damage to your own explosives, so it's really good in Cold War. And I think it definitely deserves to be up at the top here. And looking at the rest, I think Quick Revive can go maybe there. I think so. Obviously, on solo, on Black Ops, on World at War, Black Ops 1, 2, and 3, it's very good on solo because you get basically a self-revive. On Black Ops 4, you get self-revives anyway. Cold War, you get a self-revive anyway, and you can craft self-revive. So the sort of self-revive part of Quick Revive becomes obsolete. However, they changed it so that obviously you regain health after taking damage much quicker, and there's obviously the benefit of when you're playing co-op, you revive your teammates in half the amount of time it takes. In half the amount of time it would take to revive them normally. Vulture Raid, I'm going B. They did bring elements of it back in Death Perception in Cold War. So in Cold War, obviously Vulture Raid, you can see things on the map. You can see where the box is, you can see where guns are and such, but it also drops ammo, it drops points, and it drops like these little green clouds that you can stand in to become invisible. Obviously Zombshell incorporated that a little bit with the modifier, and in Cold War, Death Perception incorporates that, because obviously when you pick up salvage, if you've got Death Perception, it increases the amount of salvage you pick up per pickup. But I don't think it's any better than that. I think that's fairly safe. Have I accidentally put a secret source in B when it should have? Did I not put that in C? I'm certain I put it in C. I'm going to have to watch this back and double check. But anyway, beyond the point. So the last three we've got left are Mule Kick, Elemental Pop, and Death Perception. I think Death Perception, I don't think it's anything better than A, but better than B, sorry, but I do think the Cold War version of it does make it obviously a lot better. Obviously in Black Ops 4 it wasn't hugely useful, but in Cold War obviously you can see the outlines of the zombies, which makes it does have a use, I suppose. Obviously if you're going around, if you're in tight areas doing challenges, or you're making your way through the map to maybe the Easter egg, or if you've got the Ethereum canisters as your mission on Outbreak, it's easier to see zombies, so that kind of makes it kind of has its benefit in that sense, but obviously the elements it adds from Vulture Aid and such does make it actually a very strong perk. And I'm going to put Mule Kick in A. I think Mule Kick I think Mule Kick deserves A. I was just going to say, realistically, there's nothing more annoying on up to Black Ops 3. There's nothing more annoying than picking up a third weapon with Mule Kick and it being your like wonder weapon, and you go down and you fucking lose it. There's nothing worse. However, Black Ops 4, you can pop it in your modifier, and every time you get Mule Kick, you get that third gun back. And likewise with Cold War, if you evolve the skill enough of having Mule Kick, every time you go down and re-pick up Mule Kick, you get that weapon back. So I think that's what makes it an A, because with those benefits, it is an A tier perk. Having a third weapon is fucking nice. The only time I wouldn't necessarily think it's beneficial on Cold War is on Outbreak, because the scale up of the levels, you ideally want 1 or 2 guns to be max rarity, max pack a punch before you, and if you like level out 3 guns, makes it a bit awkward. But if you had 2 regular guns and a wonder weapon, then obviously that makes it a little bit easier to deal with. And finally, Elemental Pop, which this is going to be a controversial take. This is going to be a very controversial take. I think it's an S tier perk. I fucking love Elemental Pop. I think it's fantastic. Obviously the standard version of Elemental Pop isn't obviously that great. You know, basically you get alternate ammo types. So obviously when you pack a punch, you can get Napalm Burst, Shatter Blast, the ice one, you can get Turned or Brain Rot. I feel like there's another one that I'm forgetting. Electric Burst. So that's like the standard, is you just get those. But if you upgrade the skills, you get the reload thing like Electric Burst. You get more frequent usage, and I just think I just find it really fun to use, and that's it. That's why it's going there. And pretty much, I think we've gone through it in a way where it pretty much writes itself from this point. I'm going to put Stamina Up ahead of Speed Code, and that's what I'm going to do actually. Stamina Up, then Jug, then Speed Code, then Double Tap, then Elemental Pop, because I think Stamina Up is the best perk. I think it's the most useful perk. I think if you're looking from World at War to Black Ops 3, you kind of, maybe not Black Ops 3 so much, but certainly for World at War to Black Ops 2, you really do need Jug to get far, because it's 2 hit. Black Ops 3 is 3 hit. Black Ops 4 is 4 hit, and then it's with Cold War and you've got armor and such, and you can get up to 250 health with an upgraded Jug. So I think it becomes less and less kind of necessary to have Jug, but I think Stamina Up has become more and more necessary to have. Bigger maps, Outbreak really needs it, LMGs, things like that. I think you're at a point now where I think Stamina Up has become more of a necessity in order to outrun zombies in just that sense. And then you've got things like Megatons, which can throw projectiles at you, and you've got Manglers that can shoot you, and if you've got things like, if you've got a combination of PhD and Stamina Up, you can probably get away from the zombies enough that you wouldn't really need Jug. So I think that's probably why Stamina Up deserves the top spot. I just think it's in like modern zombies, as zombies is developed, I think Stamina Up is like a more necessary purchase. I mean, obviously everyone's always going to buy Jug anyway. Like, you're never not going to buy Jug. All of these perks you're going to buy, especially in Cold War when there's no excuse not to. Tombstone is actually the only one you wouldn't buy because it is detrimental. But on Black Ops 4 I'd never take Death Perception, but because on Cold War there's no perk limit, you kind of, why would you not take it? It's just a bit of extra benefit. I think that's the same with all of the perks nowadays. So I think that's kind of led a shift in what is the most necessary perk, and I think it goes from Juggernaut to Stamina Up. And I think that is going to be my final tier list. The very bottom, Who's Who, piece of shit. The next one, Tombstone, I do genuinely think they're still shit. Cold War, they tried, and I think they're probably going to keep trying. And I wonder if there's going to be a DLC perk in Black Ops 6 that they add in. But you got Bandolo Bandit, Blaze Phase, Ethereal Razor, Bloodwolf Bite, Time Slip, Deadshot Dealer, Stone Cold Stronghold, Secret Source, and then Double Tap 1.0 is C tier, mostly Black Ops 4 perks. And then you got B tier is Deadshot, Daiquiri, Vulturade, Victorious Tortoise, Zombshell, Quick Revive, Electric Cherry, Electric Burst, Winter's Wail, Widow's Wine, and then Death Perception. In A, you've got Mule Kick, PhD Slider, PhD Flopper, and Dying Wish. And in S tier, the top tier, you've got Elemental Pop, Double Tap 2.0, Speed Cola, Juggernog, and Stamina Up. And that's it for this one. Obviously, I know Infinite Warfare has some good perks, and their perk system is very good as well. Obviously, there's different perks in World War II, and Vanguard has some slightly different perks, and the perk system is obviously different. Um, I decided that I was gonna, because I was looking at the grand scheme of things and thought, fuck me, that's a shit ton of perks. So I thought with Black Ops 6 coming out, it's a Black Ops game. The perk systems in World at War to Black Ops 3 were pretty much, it was the same perk system the whole way through, except obviously with Gobblegums added. Black Ops 4 they completely switched it up, and then Cold War they kind of reverted, but done away with the perk limit. So I think that's kind of like thematically the best way to go about kind of creating this tier list is by doing it this way. So if you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. I'm sure people disagree, especially with that elemental pop shout. I think it's going to be quite heavily disagreed with, I would imagine, even if people don't comment it. I know that people will be thinking when they watch it, like, what the fuck is this kid doing? And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone, and good.